Good afternoon or good evening. This special meeting of the Lawrence Alliance for Education for July 8th will now come to order. The time is 6:13. Maria, would you please take attendance?
Yes. Dr. Dolores Calaf,
Present.
Edgar de Leon,
Present.
Arlene Garcia,
Present.
Maria Muller,
Present.
Shea Patricia Mariano,
Present.
Mayor Brian de Peña,
Present.
Juana Matias.
All right, she'll be on. All right, would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. There are two items on the agenda this evening. The first being to discuss the vote on the contract agreement for upcoming Superintendent Carrero. At this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Attorney John Steffen and Juana, when she does get on, to review the contract with us and answer any questions that you may have.
Thank
Good
you, Madam
evening,
Chair.
John.
Thank you, Pat. I appreciate it. I hopefully each of you received a copy of the contract, which was circulated earlier today, and have had a chance to take a look at it. This is the result of a number of conversations that Commissioner Matias and I have had with Ralph Carrero and amongst ourselves concerning the terms that would govern his employment with the Lawrence Public Schools through the LAE as its statutory receiver. The key provisions, I think, place the contract in very competitive stand vis-a-vis other gateway cities and indeed other cities across the Commonwealth. It is also, in my view, and I think evident from the terms that these are in line with and very much consistent with contracts that the superintendent that the current and previous superintendents of the Lawrence Public Schools have had. The key ones, just to highlight, this is a 3-year contract. It would begin as soon as tomorrow or upon execution by all parties and run through 2027. The annual salary would be $260,000 a year, and the superintendent would be eligible for an up to 4% increase each year of service, depending on performance as determined by the LAE. Other terms are very much standard, including typical fringe and health benefits, as have been afforded to prior superintendents. We've reached a preliminary agreement and understand that these terms are generally acceptable to Mr. Carrero, and we expect that if these are approved by the board, he will sign them. But for today, the key question, as promised, when we took the earlier vote to designate Commissioner Matias as to lead the negotiating sort of effort, was to bring this contract back to the full board for its consideration. And there should be discussion today. If there are issues or concerns or questions that the board has, I'm here to answer them. Of course, Commissioner Matias, when she is on, I'm sure would be glad to answer them as well. So I'll pause there and entertain any questions if there are any, or Chair, if there are topics or issues that people would like to discuss, of course, the floor is available to all of them.
All right, I understand Juana is on. Juana?
No, not yet.
Not yet? Oh, okay. All right, are there any questions from the board that you would like John to answer?
Madam Chair, yes. I think that I'm in line with the 3 year as well as the fringe benefits that come with the contract. I do not agree with the salary, given the magnitude of the work that needs to get done here in Lawrence. the big elephant in the room, which is receivership. And looking at other communities, I find that 260 is not an appropriate salary.
What are you proposing?
I am motion that the salary be up at 275. I'd like to propose that in form of a motion, 275 annually, along with a 3-year contract and all that comes with the contract.
Attorney Stefan, your recommendation at this point? There's a motion on the floor.
Well, I would note a couple of things. First, as far as comparisons are concerned, from what we've been able to identify, the superintendent salaries for current superintendents in other gateway cities range from approximately $183,000 per year up to a high of $269,000. That's the most recent salary for the last year of the contract that the behavioral superintendent most recently negotiated. And by reference, the city of Boston's superintendent, my understanding is that that individual receives a $280,000 salary. So the $260,000 salary that we have proposed is more generous than the salaries that we've identified from Haverhill, Lynn, Brockton, Worcester, New Bedford, Fall River. We don't have information on others, but those certainly, and it is also more generous than the contracts that we have granted either to interim superintendent Rodriguez, who currently makes $235,000 a year, or to prior superintendent Paris, whose highest salary was close to $254,000 a year.
Yeah, John, I was going to ask a follow-up question as well, and because the salary to me struck me as big, but even the other way, because Cynthia's last year, she was at 250.
Cynthia's last year, I believe, 253,691 was the math that I did on the contract.
And that's Cynthia over working 2 or 3 years. I'm sorry, I forget as much. And so my question was the opposite. It was like the decision to actually go up in salary from what we've done before. What did that entail?
Commissioner Matias, would you be in the best position to answer that? Oh, you're on mute, I believe, Juana, or your microphone isn't picking up your voice.
Yeah, I hear you. Maybe you need to write it. Yep.
Just while she types, just a quick calculation. I mean, if the superintendent earns a 4% increase, which is really the maximum he can earn every year for the next 2 years, that would put him at 281 in the matter of by 2017. Just I don't know how helpful this is, but I figured I'm just going to throw those numbers in because again, it jumps considerably, and again, we're getting beyond what we're proposing now within 2 years.
So for those who have not been able to see the chat, Commissioner Matias has noted in response to Commissioner De Leon's question that the salary figure of $260,000 was negotiated over time, and ultimately we felt reflected the experience that Mr. Carrero brings to the position, and also on cost of living considerations over the years since Superintendent Paris left the position.
We're talking about a superintendent with 17 years of experience, of successful experience. We're talking about a superintendent who will hit the ground running, who is very familiar with his community. And I stand firm that that salary is not in accordance with what he should receive.
Can we pick it up from comparison with the Haverhill superintendent at 269,000, you said? That would be more, how would I say, closer to what I also think. He's gonna have a very hard job, and the whole readjustment to the whole system, pretty much, right? And that's gonna be a lot of work. So I think we can put it, within the means of the budget.
I mean, let's be
If I may
realistic.
just, I'm sorry, just to interject with one factual clarification, because I want to make sure that everyone has the information that I'm providing. I'm reading from press reports concerning the Haverhill superintendent. The current superintendent, her current salary is $237,490, and the increases were to give a 13% pay raise spread out over 4 years. So the $269,552 that the Haverhill superintendent will receive, she will not receive immediately. That would be coming in much later.
Okay, so can we kind of split it up? I know there's a 260 on the table, but could we go as 265? At least.
I just think that,
I mean,
we just gave $5 million worth of retention bonuses, and we're nickel and diming here. That's the way I'm looking at it. We just approved $5 million, $2,500 a pop, over 200 staff members, and we're fighting over $15,000.
The other thing I would note, just for the group's understanding, is that Mr. Carrero has accepted the terms that we have provided. He's prepared to sign the contract at $260,000.
And if I could interject, we voted to have Juana negotiate with Attorney Stefan, and I think we trusted her to come up with the two of them to come up with a very viable contract. So I think any kind of change that we make to this at this time negates all the work that they've done for the past 3 or 4 weeks. We, in asking Juana to be part of the negotiations, we trusted her to come up with the best contract. So with Mr. Carrero agreeing and Warner and John coming up with the best that all parties agreed to, I don't think we should be changing anything.
I disagree.
Pat, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can hear you now.
Great. Do you guys mind if I jump in? I've been trying to get a hold of the audio. So we went through this process. I want to thank John. He was readily available, was a great guide and support system. We went through this process with evidence-based data. We looked at what does someone similarly situated with this kind of school district earn in the state of Massachusetts, right? So we started there. This is not based on emotions. This is not based on anything but what does the market say? And then we looked at his resume and his skill set. And we ended up at 260. It is a very competitive salary, one of the highest in the state for a gateway city, with the exception of the community that Stefan mentioned. I believe that Ralph can hit the ground running. I think you earn your salaries. We're talking about other salaries where people have been there for 2-3 years, right? They've earned their increases in those salaries. They've shown outputs and demonstrations as to how they're, yielding student outcomes. I think this is a more than fair salary. We also need to make sure that we are respecting and honoring our fiduciary duty with taxpayer dollars, and that we're not just throwing out a salary for salary's sake. Ralph has 17 years of experience running a much smaller school system that is not comparable to the Lawrence Public Schools. We took his salary that we're offering today is comparable to a school district with poverty, with disengagement from parents, all of the characteristics that make Lawrence challenging. And I think we have a great offer that he's accepted and feels very comfortable with. I've been talking to Ralph for over 2-3 weeks on this. He accepted this offer, right? So why are we changing
Then
an offer?
Why bring it up to the board if the
Oh, no, Arlene, we're bringing it up to the board and we take a vote. Right now, you have a contract for 260. I say we roll call the vote, and all we need is a simple majority, and we have a contract. That's how it works. This is a vote, and you can vote no. The rest of the members can vote how they'd like, but we went through a thorough process. We've been in contact with him for 3 weeks. We considered everything he had to say. We looked at evidence-based data. We looked at his resume. What we're presenting you is something that he feels comfortable with, and that also we can, as a LAE board, say to the community, we were responsible in getting to this number. We looked at data, and what we're presenting you is a respectable way of us ensuring that we're also protecting taxpayer dollars, but giving someone what they earn, what they merit.
Juana, can you hear me real quick?
Yes.
All right, thank you, because that's the question I have for you. The data you were using, it was, I'm assuming, superintendents,
Salaries,
similar
contracts.
situations, similar experiences in the state of Massachusetts.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can look on, I think is Desi, you can look at all of the contracts that that all superintendents have. It's public. You can look at all of their terms. John went and got them and put them into a chart, and he only compared us to school districts that are similar in student population and similar with the challenges that we face as an underserved community.
Yeah, makes sense.
As well as a district that's in receivership for 12 years.
I can't recall, Arlene, if all of the school districts were in receivership. I'd have to look at the list, but I would say that those schools have the same challenges, right? ESL learners, new immigrants, disengaged parents, poverty were 100% the factors that in the descriptors of those districts.
Yeah, but they're not in receivership. They're not in receivership. They have, lack of parent engagement. Yes, all of that. But they're not, the challenge of getting a system out of receivership is a totally different ballgame.
Yeah.
And that takes work.
Yeah. And if we want to, how to say, send a message of trust. I mean, he probably accepted because he doesn't want to keep going because he knows time is of essence.
Yeah.
But
I think we have differences of opinions here, and that's normal. That's how democracy works. I think we have a contract, Madam Chair, before the LAE board, and I say we move to a vote on those members that want to support it, and those who don't can cast their vote against it.
Can I ask a question? It's somewhat related, but I have a separate question from the salary. In terms of the vacation time, it's 25 days, and I know that carrying over, I do think that the benefits are very generous. the carrying over of the benefits is there's no limit on the vacation days. You can,
The personal, it says that it'll go on to his sick bank.
So for vacation days,
yeah,
Commissioner
vacation
Muller,
is
you're correct.
25 days, but I didn't see a limit up to a number of hours accumulated.
That's correct. Consistent with state law, his days will roll over. Unused vacation days will roll over. So if he uses none of his vacation days, he would start the next year with an additional 25 days on top of the days. This generally means I don't think anyone reasonably would expect the superintendent to take to pool 75 vacation days and take them all in one school year. I think that would be, I mean, given the way the practices are outlined in the contract, vacations and leaves from office are to be done in conjunction with the LAE. But upon the end of a contract, as employees in Massachusetts are entitled to be paid for their unused vacation time.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't
So
familiar.
that's the nature of that provision, generally speaking.
Thank you.
Maria, excuse me, but if you remember, there was a point with Cynthia's contract that she wasn't using vacation days, and I believe the board asked her to use some.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
I don't. I wasn't aware of the state law, so my apologies. I'm more on the private side, but that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
I mean, I will. The only thing I'll say is, I do think that I'm comfortable being careful with the initial salary or just sticking to this one, mostly because, and again, in a way, it's a vote of confidence on my side. And this is the comment I made earlier. I do believe that Ralph has the ability to get to the $281,000 within 2 years. If he earns the 4% that he can earn every year. I do have confidence in him. That's exactly why I made a motion to bring him on board. I do plan on supporting him, and I do have confidence that he'll get there. I do think that I just want to be really careful where, with the image to the community in terms of this, we have confidence in him, but we also want to make sure that we are comfortable with how we're spending the money initially anyways.
Yeah, and I think the other point that's really important is that receivership is not new. And when Cynthia was on board, she was under receivership as well. So I'm okay with Juana if with the map that you and John created in terms of not only comparable to other cities, but also the idea of cost of living. That to me makes sense, especially if you look at where Cynthia ended and where he's beginning. Like, to me, that makes sense. But the idea of receivership is not a new one. We've been on receivership for what, 10 years now? And every superintendent's been doing the same fight. And so unless we're gonna say this is different because something that earns him $30,000 more than the previous person, then I don't know. Then to me, it doesn't make sense unless, Juana, in your deliberations, you guys are considering something that was outrageously new to the city of Lawrence that hasn't happened in the last decade, which to me, that's not what's going on here. I think we've already showed him that we want him here because he's voted on, right? And so then that's our support. So unless we're, Juana, in your talk dealings with him, you said this is needed because this city, this happened, or I just go, we've been in receivership for 10 years. So this is not, that aspect of our voting and discussion is on you. And he's being paid more than any other superintendent in the history of Lawrence Public School.
Right.
That is also happening as well. And so the question is why we're going to raise his $30,000 more than someone that had the same exact job with the same exact problems, with the same exact issues. Like, what are we saying to the community that this is different and therefore requires more money?
This is different because this is somebody that knows his community. We've had superintendents come in here from everywhere but Lawrence. Everywhere but Lawrence. This is somebody that's coming in on the inside track.
Yeah.
And this is somebody that's got, like every other superintendent that has come, yes, has an uphill battle. But we should demonstrate that, yes, we believe that he has the capacity. And to me, 260 does not, it doesn't fly. It doesn't fly. Because we're willing to shell out $5 million to retain teachers. And at the end of the day, who's teaching the kids and why are the kids coming with low scores? And why are we giving, $5 million worth of bonuses for retention? Have we questioned that?
No, because we need teachers.
Right, we need teachers,
Right,
but
and
even
we
if they're
need-
not good, then we're gonna say, okay, as long as we had a warm body breathing, here we go. Here's $2,500 for you.
But we also have evaluations based stuff that's happening in our teaching schools. I mean, I think the hope is that Ralph is going to come in with some new energy and new plan to make sure that whatever your concerns are being met. I don't know how the $30,000 extra is actually going to make that happen. Does that mean that
Getting
LAE's gonna work
260.
harder?
I'm asking for, if you want, you don't want the 275, but 270. Let's bring it to 270. And that's still better than 260 for the amount of work that he's got in front of him.
All right,
We saw how it went down. We saw how he's going to have to get in there and confront a population that does not, wasn't actually, handing him his hand and saying, we're gonna work with you. Let's be real.
That's true, Arlene, but no one asked him to sign up for that. He chose that. And so, he's choosing to want to apply to become the superintendent of the Lawrence Public Schools. He also engaged in 3 weeks of negotiations with me, and he said that the 260 with all of the benefits that come with it was fair. There's no one that's a
not where
better.
it started, Juana. It didn't start at 260. He had to say, okay, I'll take 260.
That's how negotiation works always. Any place you go, anywhere in the world in employment, you start at a certain place and then you end up. That is natural and part of the process.
Well, anyway, we're part of the board. It has come in front of the board, and I'm not in agreement with 260.
And that's fine. That's fine, and I respect you and admire you, and you know that I hold you in the highest of esteem. We can agree to disagree.
I as well to you.
You made a motion. You don't have a second. I'm making a motion to vote on the contract that Ralph Carrero has approved for 260 with all of the benefit, and I'm asking for a second.
Motion has been made. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Edgar. Any further discussion?
I don't know. I have my concerns still.
I mean, I'm happy to, I will say I'm happy to hear that he is willing to accept this. I feel like it's also good for him to have some good data backing this up. So if anybody bring this up in terms of the challenges he's going to encounter this first year, if anybody questions his salary, I do appreciate the amount of data we have on this and we are able to justify it, just like we should be able to justify a 4% if it gets to that point next year.
All right, I'm going to move the question. Maria, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Dolores Calaf,
I don't know. I really don't know. I'm in between. So what do I do?
You have a
Your
choice.
your
Dolores.
options, Madam Commissioner, your options are to vote yes, or to vote no, or to abstain and cast no vote.
I'm gonna abstain.
Edgar de Leon,
Yes.
Arlene Garcia,
No.
Juana Matias,
Yes.
Maria Muller,
Yes.
Mayor Brian De Peña,
Yes.
Chair Patricia Mariano.
Yes. What's the tally, Maria?
Motion carries.
Motion carries. We've approved the contract. I want to especially thank Attorney Stefan and Juana for the time they devoted to get us to this point. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you both.
Okay, moving on. The next item on the agenda is to vote on the amended budget for the school year 2024-2025. interim superintendent, Rodriguez is here, and he's going to discuss,
He's not here.
where'd he go?
He left.
I think some people may have thought that the meeting was over.
No, but he was going to speak to that.
I guess he left because he felt awkward to be in a conversation.
Maria, would you please try to contact him?
I mean, I would.
I will.
Yeah, okay.
There he is. Superintendent, you're on.
Hey everybody, I'm just gonna share my screen. So as sent out last week, the original LAE approved proposed school department budget was $280 million, $13,381. On June 25th, the City Council voted to approve the amended city budget, which included a $1.5 million reduction in the school department appropriation. So the total school department appropriation in the City Council approved amended budget is $278,354,228, and there is also a small discrepancy of a couple $100,000 in the city funded transportation line item that we're trying to resolve at this point too. But the big number is the $1.5 million. So the leadership team worked over the last week to take a look at our budget to see where we could adjust our budget to remove $1.5 million. And just a reminder that the required local contribution in either funds or related services is $15,202,577. The reduction in the amended budget brings the total local contribution to approximately $13,702,577. And again, there will be work on this MOU that the school department has with the city on reimbursable municipal expenses. So I'm just going to refer back to the budget that we proposed to everybody a few weeks back. Taking a look at the line where we're going to take the $1.5 million out is the line 5774, which is our health insurance line. As you can see, this has kind of gone from 16 million to 11 million up to 35 million and 29 million this year. We plan to appropriate. We're going to take that down to approximately $28 million. This is a line where we have had excess funds over the past several years. We are also planning on the $3.9 million approximately that's being rolled over from last school year. That will be rolled over to the city. The city will place that in a school department account, the city CAFO. And then we will have the city place that $3.9 million back in this account where we are taking the 1.5 million. So this line, this 5774 health insurance line proposed over here, this column is for the 2025 proposed, and that's on page 28 of your budget if you want to take a look at it later. We are proposing to change this line from approximately $29,593,000 down to about $28 million. And then, as I stated, our rollover funds are about 3.9 million right now. We're probably going to use about 350,000 of that for some things that we're doing. So the amount that we're probably going to roll over is about 3.5 million. And we will ask the city chief administrative and financial officer to place those rollover funds, which will probably be, like I said, 3.5 million into this 5774 line down the line after we make the change from 29,593,000 to about 20. And again, this was the wording that I sent to you in the email last week. And again, the recommended local appropriation, this is our budget worksheet from DESE. has a bunch of tabs with formulas, everything on it. The key thing on this, which is on the state page, I can also share this with everybody, is for FY25, the required local contribution, either in funds or related services, is $15,202,000. The city has taken that down to about $13.7 million, and we'll have to work on the MOU for reimbursable municipal expenses. If at any point the state does not believe that the school department has received $15,202,577 in either funds or reimbursable expenses services, they will get back to both us and to the city at that point.
If I could just add an item, not so much an item, my thoughts. I've been thinking about this and the money. I would like to recommend starting in the next school year that a financial or a budget report becomes a standing agenda item at our monthly meetings. And I'm going to look for someone within the board or someone that's interested in meeting with the chief financial officer, just to review the expenditures, whatever is encumbered, and keep us aware so that at the end of the year, we're not returning any money. I know that this was a strange year. There were a lot of grants that came in, and the end of the ESSER, the SOA. So I know we have that funding. However, I think it would be good for the board to have a monthly report on the financial status of the district.
And, just a reminder that no money is like given to the city or anything like that. The money gets rolled over. It gets sent to the city. The city, holds it in a special school department account, then sends it back to us. So we have the money. I think we had talked about forming a subcommittee of the LAE to meet, not just at LAE meetings, but also to have subcommittee meetings with the chief financial officer. Because remember, the challenge for Mr. Carrero this year is going to be to spend the $20 million increase that we got, right? So we went from $260 to $280 million. And also on top of spending that additional $20 million, there's $3.5 million in rollover funds, right? So again,
Right.
Those rollover funds that we didn't spend this year, again, are not going to, they're not going to the city to be used for various things. They'll be sent back to the school department. The city CAFO has a pretty structured way of accounting for that money to make sure that it gets returned to the school department. And I think that'll be the challenge, right? We're trying to staff 126 new positions. If we can't staff 126 of those new positions, again, the reason why we always have an excess in that health insurance line is because we project, okay, this year we're projecting, average $30,000 of health and benefits for each one of our 2,400 employees. But if we were only able to hire 2,320 employees, there's 80 times 30,000 in benefits that we're not going to spend. And that's just in the health benefits line. That's not including the salary.
Does that include also when an employee opts out of the insurance?
Yeah, there are folks, like me and other folks in the district who opt out of insurance, but you do get like a small payback at the end of the year. Like if your spouse carries you on insurance, the school department sends you a $1,000 reimbursement, because to be carried on somebody else's insurance is much, much, much more expensive than $1,000. So, there are, not that many folks, but we could get you an exact number of folks who are carried by their spouse on their spouse's insurance. Sure.
All right, any questions about the budget and the bottom line at this point?
So, okay, so the issue is here is that there's certain money that is coming from the city, right? And are we supposed to get less money?
No, this is if you take a look at the screen, the cell that I have highlighted here under FY25.
Yep.
The $15,202,577 is the required local contribution. underneath is the state aid, right? The 285,935,310. That's the state aid that the school department and the city get from the Commonwealth for Chapter 70 purposes, right, for education of students. So, you know, the required local contribution is 15,202,577. Now, again, whether that's in financial reimbursement, if that's in municipal related services, right? Those, it has to add up to 15,202,000. And then again, this is just a, you know, a graph from the foundation budget primer from the Massachusetts Small Business Association. You know, if you see here, Lawrence pays, you know, Lawrence gets 95% of the school department budget from Chapter 70 based on ability to pay. And again, that is based on complicated formulas on wealth, all these other things. You know, it would be something interesting maybe that if you do form a subcommittee for budget and finance, you could go to things like this and they could talk about, you know, inflator, wage adjustment factors, all these interesting things that are kind of complicated, but do help you understand what the required local contribution is and how the Chapter 70 formula works.
Okay, what about, you know, the whole thing about receivership? If or when we made the change,
Yeah, Chapter 70 has nothing to do with
there's not gonna
receivership.
be any
Yeah,
difference?
nothing. We were, you
There's
know,
no additional expenses
no.
incurred?
No, you know, like again, you know, Lynn Mass is not in receivership. They get a substantial amount of Chapter 70 aid. They get about 91% of their budget from Chapter 70 funds. Lawrence has always gotten about 95% of our budget before receivership, during receivership, after receivership. The Chapter 70 formula is not going to change. So receivership has no bearing at all on the Chapter 70 funding formula. It's for the Commonwealth. It's maxed, you know, local districts are maxed at paying 82.5% of their school department budget. So even wealthy towns don't pay 100% of their school department budget. There's a max, and again, there's all kinds of different metrics and demographics that go into the Chapter 7 form. But whether you're in receivership or not in receivership, that has nothing to do with the Chapter 70 formula.
Okay, is this budget based on maintaining an amount of students or increasing them?
Well, our projected enrollment is somewhere in the 14,000s next year, so they're projecting us to grow slightly from a little bit less than 14,000 into to a little bit over 14,000. Again, all of the Chapter 7 is based on your October 1 enrollment. So whatever our enrollment is on October 1 of this year, that will drive what our Chapter 70 reimbursement will be for next year. So all the students that we had enrolled on October 1 of this year are what count in the formula for the approximately $285 million that we're getting in Chapter 70 state aid this year.
Juan, my question, as you know, I wasn't happy about this, but the $15 million that is required by state law for the city to locally contribute, are we going to get that in fiscal year 25? Or are we only getting the 13 million?
Yeah, if we don't get a combined 15.2 million in either dollars or in related municipal services, the state will say, well, you know, you only provided $14.9 million. I'm just throwing a number out there. If they say that the school department only received $14.9 million,
is there a penalty?
They'll say that the city has to add $300,000 to their required contribution next year. So anything below the required local contribution that the state determines was not provided will be added to whatever the required local contribution is next year.
Okay, and so then how about if the city starts getting into a debt and they're never able to meet their required contribution? What happens then?
Yeah,
how do we hold them accountable?
Every municipality has to, I'm gonna go back to this presentation. Every municipality has to meet net school spending. If they don't, you know, your local aid is put at risk. So I'm gonna see the slide just based on.
Yeah, that would be great to see what the statute says.
So, and again, this might, you know, again, I think it would be a great idea. Like, you know, Pat was mentioning this, and we did talk about it at a previous meeting. on net school spending, like they have all these workshops, and if you did have a budget and finance subcommittee, it would be great for a couple members of the board to attend with Mr. Carrero and the new CFO. So this is just across the Commonwealth. As you can see, 194 districts contribute more than 120% of net school spending. 59 go between 105 and 120. We are in the section here. Lawrence is in the section here of the districts that spend between 99 and 100%. So
I get that, but my
yep.
question to you is not that. My question
Yeah.
is, if we approve what you're presenting, which I disagree we should be doing, we should be teaching Lawrence to always meet their local spending requirement, not to fidget ways to not meet it. So if we go in next year's fiscal year 25, and Lawrence has not given us $15.2 million, how do we ensure accountability? How do we make, how can you
Yeah.
force the city?
The state,
The
the state will send a letter saying, all right, this year you were $1.2 million below net school spending. And this year, the required contribution, let me go back to this other slide. So I'm just going to give you an example, Juana, and let me know if this makes sense. So I'm going to go back to the other spreadsheet.
What are the reasons that they say that will be less?
I'm just gonna finish. Let me finish up on Juana's question first. So
Sure.
Juana, in FY24 here, so if the state determined that the school department didn't get the $13,728,000 and instead had only gotten $13 million last year, that $728,000 would have been added to this figure, which would have taken the city would have been required to contribute.
So you're carrying over
million.
debt. Yep, you're
So
carrying over debt. And then how do you ensure that that debt is paid in fiscal year 25?
Yeah,
You can continue to carry it forward.
Yeah,
that's my problem.
Yeah,
So
I think that's happened. I think that happens. I think to a neighboring community a few years back. Again, where the state stepped in. It wouldn't be anything that the school department would do. It would be a DESE determination, and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, the folks in the finance office, would step in and say, this has to be met, or you're putting these dollars here at risk, right? The lower numbers, which are massive amounts of aid that the municipality gets.
Because that's a fixed income, right? I mean, a formula.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's a fixed formula. It's a fixed formula based on how many students, property values, the ability for the municipality to contribute, a bunch of other factors.
Superintendent, did we do that last year? Did we decrease the $13 million in 24? And if we didn't, why are we doing it now?
I don't believe there was any, I don't believe there was any, there were talks about rewording our MOU last year, but there was no change to the proposed budget that the LAE board approved at the end of last year.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right, any further questions?
I'll just add that obviously I'd rather see the money than in-kind services going forward. I think it shouldn't become a habit, but because it just can go down a slippery slope in terms of like what services are charged, or against that balance and whatnot. I mean, I do think our district needs that funding, and we can definitely make good use to it. We cannot do that without Pat's recommendation of having a regular report on that budget of basically projected spending and actual spending in times for us to move those funds around and know what else do we have the capacity to do and to offer our students. So I am 100% with Pat in terms of having a monthly report on like projected versus spending, and see how we can control that or have better control of those funds.
Yeah, and again, 70% of our budget is on salaries. So the closer we get to full employment, the closer we're going to be to 100% every year. And the difficult thing is,
I agree.
The difficult thing is, when we carry over money and we get, it's not like we got a $200,000 increase from the state this year. We got a $20 million increase.
That's going to happen.
Trying to spend a $20 million increase wisely, which I think, the SOA plan kind of laid out what we were thinking, but then also figuring out a way to spend those $3.5 million in carryover funds I think that you know, again, it's a challenge. Again, certainly I'd much rather be in a situation like we are instead of North Andover, where there's, you know, a significant deficit, or other places such as Brockton. As both you, Maria, and Juana have said, we want to make sure that we're spending the funding, investing it in what kids need, whether it's instructional technology, addition of paraprofessionals, high quality curriculum, effective professional development for our teachers to get better at their craft, family information presentations where we're giving our parents strategies on how to help their kids do homework or how to help reluctant kids get to school. I think those are certainly places we should spend the money. And again, you know, obviously we don't want to be in a situation where we're in a deficit, but we don't want to be vastly underspent either. You know, we want.
And I will say, I mean, I'm all up for teacher retention. If we need to spend some money on teacher retention, I think, you know, again.
Yeah, I think the board has done a lot, a huge amount this year on that, not just teacher retention, but paras and for the rest of our staff members too. So
yeah.
We're expecting, you know, the principals are reporting that they're having good success hiring. Kind of as Pat and I, and probably you, Maria, will know too, right? It's easy to feel good the first week in July, and then the last week in August, you know, you might have a resignation or two come in, and you know, that's when you start getting stressed out again. So I think probably by mid-August, the district should have a good indicator of how many folks are staying with us, and also how many vacancies are still out there.
I think, I mean, I will say, based on my own experience with my own professional work, it is realistic for the board to expect, you know, not spending the full amount of in the budget in the personnel line or the salaries line, given what, you know, the staff crisis that everybody is facing, but also, and I'm sure a lot of districts are on the same boat. You know, we have a lot of FMLA maternity or medical leaves happening right now, especially because you know, thankfully our state provides those benefits. But I think they're being used now, and for many different reasons. And I think it's fair to expect that we are going to save a lot of, not save, but we're not going to spend a lot of the money that we expect to pay because of that. So we need to keep a very close eye on how to utilize those funding so they can serve our purposes better.
Superintendent, could you give me that bottom line again, what we're approving tonight?
Sure, let me project that again.
As he does that, I just had a question for Juana, because I'm just trying to understand. Your worry is, Juana, that the money gets continued, that the city won't meet its responsibility, and we're kicking the can, and the city will continue to do so. Is that?
Yes, the problem is the city of Lawrence has a history. It happened during Danny's administration, where we were not contributing the local mandate that the state requires us to contribute. We just started to do it. So last year we did it. I think the year before we did it. We're doing our part to fund our own public schools. And now what we do, I don't understand how we got to this conclusion. I don't agree with it. We should have been asked before anyone approved this. We're saying, oh, city, keep 1.5 of the million that you're supposed to give us. But you're going to pay us back by goods and services. No. Give us the $50 million that you're responsible for. What is $50 million of a $286 million budget? That is nothing. The city of Lawrence, if we want to ensure our kids in the future have what they need, we need to take ownership of our public education system. We should not be moving away from meeting our local mandate. What we should be doing is increasing our local mandate. So I will be voting no.
And to Juana's point, and Superintendent, I just have a question. The ask came from whom? That came from the city council?
No, the city council approved this budget, but the amended city budget was sent out. The proposal was on June 18th of the past month.
From the.
This is this is all the mayor's budget.
Oh, these are all the reductions. Oh.
Yep. So these are all the proposed reductions, and the school department is scheduled line 106 here.
Yes, there are 1,000,005.
That's also, Edgar, if it's you can click on it in that email that I sent you. If you click on the link, you'll be able to see it.
Got it.
So what is the vote specifically? You know, it's just to take that out of our budget, or specifically that line that you showed us, Superintendent?
Sure. Again, that this would be up to the chair, but you know, the recommended vote of the language, again, up to the chair would be to approve the total school department appropriation of $278,354,228 as approved by the city council on June 25th.
All right, any further questions?
I mean, this is a city choice, or is this a city vote, or it?
Right,
What
thank you. That's thank you, Maria. That's actually my bigger question. Is it doesn't seem like, yeah, that's the part that I'm most confused about. Is
What if we say no? Like, what happened?
What if we say no? Like, what happened?
Well, you know, and again, there's might be something for the lawyers. Again, you know, I was not a finance major. You know,
Yeah,
my degree was in teaching English as a second language and other stuff. So,
yeah,
no, you know, again,
box,
as always, in my opinion, I think board members should vote as you always do with your conscience. I think you all do a great job of that. If you vote no, I'm sure that you know, you'll get some guidance on what next steps will be.
And I would just add to that the most important thing that the Lawrence Alliance for Education does is approve the school budget for the city of Lawrence. So with your vote, you know, you're approving or disproving. This is the most important policy decision. Yeah, it's a budgetary, but it's a policy decision.
Yeah, I mean, based on what we're getting less.
What was that? We can't hear, Doctor Dolores. I can't hear you. Sorry.
Huh?
Oh, this is probably my computer. But what were you saying? I couldn't hear
I'm
you.
just saying, based on what we are receiving less from the city. Based on what? Is there a deficit? Is they expect less? I mean, Lord knows, are we getting more taxes? So, what is it? Where is the mayor? Alcalde, diga algo.
Yeah, I'm just confused that it seems to be like this is a conversation with the city, not so much with us.
About us? Yeah, we sort of, I think we got kind of.
It's a conversation with us because the city ratifies our budget. So we already voted on a budget. I don't know if you guys remember this. We had the chief financial officer, we had the superintendent, they presented to us, we voted. Yeah. They brought that budget to the city. The city wants to make cuts. Their cut is instead of giving you 15.2 million for fiscal year 25, we're going to do 13 point something. And then the other 1.5, we're going to somehow reimburse through services. And so now they're bringing that back to us, the LAE board, to vote again on this new budget that would include a $1.5 million less from the city. And you guys have to vote whether you approve or disapprove.
All right.
Or abstain. Is that correct, Superintendent?
Yes.
Yeah, that's, I think everything you said there is 100%. I think, you know, just to walk everybody through the, you know, the current MOU that we have with the city that's 11 years old at this point. This is, you know, just a generic MOU that municipalities and school departments across the Commonwealth use. You know, the city is going to provide municipal services to the school department, and there's some type of chargeback, number one, for procurement. Number two, for end of year reporting with DESE. Number three, for financial general ledger costs that the city's controller and the CAFO do. Other things, snow removal, municipal services, other things that I'm not really well versed in, such as this municipal revenue growth factor. So again, some of these things are kind of beyond my faculties as far as you know, finance and accounting. You know, other folks could probably describe these to you better. And again, I think this would be something, again, that would be great for the board to look at. And again, this MOU was really written to go through the 2018-2019 school year, you see here in the middle. But it has the clause where it's going to remain in effect until the successor agreement is approved. And there's never been a successor agreement. And this was signed by Robert Nunes when he was the city financial overseer, by Mayor Lantigua and Superintendent Riley when he was here. So that's kind of when when the city talks about revising the MOU, that's exactly what they're talking about with the updated tool from DESI.
All right,
Will we say no? What
All
happened?
right, we ready to vote?
vote.
Okay, could I have a motion to approve the amended budget for SY 2024, 2025 for the total of $278,374,228? Could I have a motion? Hearing none, motion failed. All right, so do we send a letter to the city superintendent? How do we handle this at this point?
I'm not sure. I think, probably I'll give Brianna and Anne Maria a call on this. Usually I think I would report this to our chief financial officer. We don't have a chief financial officer right now since Mr. Perez departed week and a half ago. I'll probably send something to Mr. Iannello over at City Hall, or someone in the school department will, because I do believe that today is my last day with the district. So we'll get someone working on that tomorrow to make sure that they're communicating that over to Mr. Iannello's office over at City Hall.
Okay, and could you forward that email to me so that I can pass it on to the rest of the members?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank
think
you.
we need, I feel like we need more information though. Like, I think there's still a little confusion in terms of like, okay, what are the ramifications of this yes or no vote? So, I think the vote is just a reflection of like additional information. Like, what are the consequences of this?
Right.
Right, and I still feel it's very important that this becomes a standing agenda item every month, and that someone from the board, maybe 1, 2, even 3 people as a subcommittee, work with the school department in going over this budget process. And I also think that we as a group could benefit by some professional development to understand where the monies come from and so forth and so on, and the city's responsibility. I think that would help.
I think I think the webinars that I attended were very helpful to me to understand the basic general principles. But I think the Mass Association of School Business Officials, as well as the Mass Association of School Committees, does a lot of PD in helping folks understand the budgetary process. And
So I'll look
I would
into that.
encourage the board members to participate.
Yes, Dolores.
Yes, I initially when it was created, the hiring subcommittee,
Yes,
also indicated that Edgar and I would be working on the budgetary.
and Arlene also.
Oh, and Arlene, okay.
So we'll have a discussion later, as far as if you're able to commit the time, to work with the city, and we'll go from there with our finance person. So I'll be in touch with you people over the summer to create some kind of a committee that will be responsible to report on the finances every month.
Okay.
All right, could I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? Thank you, Maria. Maria, please call the roll.
Dr. Dolores Galaf,
Yes, please.
Edgar de Leon,
Yes.
Arlene Garcia. Arlene,
Left.
Juana Matias,
Yes.
Maria Muller,
Yes.
Mayor Brian de Peña,
Yes.
Chair Patricia Mariano.
What?
I think Pat left too. But I'm sure she would have voted yes. But
She
I
would-
can't
yeah,
vote for
definitely.
her. Mark
Yearning,
as absent. Good night, everybody. Take it easy.
Hey, bye.